I'll be busy taking care of the baby soon. I won't be able to come home for a while, so don't miss me too much, okay?" As my husband said this and packed his things, I could only stand there and watch him. He didn't seem to care about how I felt and continued to laugh and hum while asking where our son's baby bottle was. However, the baby he was talking about wasn't our child. He had gotten a younger woman he kept as a mistress pregnant, and the baby was theirs. Yes, this man had abandoned me and our son. My name is Linda, a 42-year-old caregiver. I work part-time, so my income isn't great, but I'm currently studying to become a certified nursing assistant. My family consists of my husband and our son. My husband is 45 years old and works as a manager in a reasonably large company. He has been there for many years. My husband used to be quite the womanizer, and I had been brought to tears many times because of it. I had confronted him several times, asking who was more important to him, me or the other women. Yet I never left him because I loved him. After our son was born, he settled down and focused on his job. Our son, Robert, will turn 18 this month. Time has flown by as I've juggled work, housekeeping, and parenting. Robert had a rebellious phase, but now he's about to graduate from high school. He's working hard to get into his dream college, cramming every day after school. If he gets accepted, he'll move away from home, which is a bit worrisome. As parents, we still want to take care of him, but Robert has grown tall and handsome, just a step away from becoming an adult. I need to find a hobby to help me let go of him. While Robert was studying for his college entrance exams, there were times when my husband would come home late. At first, I thought it was just because of his work, but there was a time when he didn't answer my calls or messages, which made me suspicious. Since then, I've found more than enough evidence to doubt him, such as the smell of perfume on his suits and long hairs in the car that weren't mine. However, I never found the courage to confront him. Then, one day, while we were eating dinner as a family, my husband drank more than usual and said with a flushed face, "Robert has really grown up, hasn't he?" "I still want to be a kid, though." "But you've grown so much taller since middle school, and your face has become more mature, hasn't it?" Robert, seemingly embarrassed to be treated like an adult, scratched his head. My husband, watching him, casually asked, "So you don't need your old man anymore?" "Huh? What are you talking about?" Caught off guard by the sudden change in conversation, I couldn't help but join in. With both Robert and me looking at him suspiciously, my husband downed the rest of his beer and said, "Well, the thing is, my girlfriend is pregnant." The room went dead silent. What did he just say? Girlfriend? Pregnant? Not making any sense. I let out a dry laugh. "I think you've had too much to drink today." "No, this is a true story. I met her a year ago, and we've been dating ever since. I was planning to keep it a secret, but it seems like we accidentally made a baby." I stood up quickly and covered Robert's ears. Robert didn't seem to follow, looking at his father with a blank expression. "Robert, go back to your room." "What? This is the last time we'll all be together. I haven't had much time to talk to Robert lately. Let him stay here a little bit longer." "How can you say that? I don't understand how you think it's okay for our son to hear this. And what do you mean by the last time?" In my anger, I raised my voice. I hugged Robert tightly in the spur of the moment. He's already in a sensitive period due to his upcoming exam, so I don't want him to hear this kind of conversation. But my husband didn't care and continued talking. "Well, I'm not coming home for a while because I'll be helping her raise the baby, you know." I felt dizzy at my husband's words. So he had a mistress and made a baby with her, and he's only telling us now when the birth is close? I couldn't understand my husband's behavior, and I felt like I was going to lose it. We had been living together for over 20 years. There were honestly times when I hated him, but I felt reassured when I saw him taking care of Robert as a responsible father. Did he really want to be with his mistress so badly that he would throw away all the trust and years of life that we shared? Well, that's how it is. I'm going to her place this weekend, and I'll start getting ready now. And with that, he started packing his things in a backpack. I stood there feeling as if a hole had been torn in my heart. Hey, do we still have the baby bottles Robert used? In contrast to us, my husband was all smiles. I silently shook my head. There was one thing left, but it wasn't saved for him and his mistress. It was saved for when Robert grew up so my husband and I could look back on our parenting together, praising each other and sharing memories. My husband left the room, muttering that it was a waste, and went to the bedroom to organize his clothes. Did he just abandon us? Robert whispered, tears in his eyes, and I couldn't find the words to deny it. 3 days later, my husband was apparently heading to his mistress's place. When I cried that I had actually once believed in him, he said, "I always wanted a second child, but you were always so busy, right? And while we were doing all that, we got older and older. I knew we couldn't have another one." He laughed loudly, hurting my heart as much as possible. Robert, holding back his tears, glared at his father while rubbing my back. "What's with that look? By the time you come back, I won't be here anymore. Are you okay with that?" "Sure, you're an adult now, right? You've lost your childlike charm and you're not as cute anymore. I heard my girlfriend's baby is a girl, so I might like her even more than you." Robert lunged at his father. He flinched for a moment, but then glared back at Robert. "Ah, she's so young and cute, unlike you guys. I'm really looking forward to our future together." "Yeah, I get it now. You're the worst, Dad. At least now both Mom and I can make up our minds. We know what to do." I also speak up, following Robert. "You should know that there will be no home for you to return to anymore." My husband, with an annoyed expression, shakes off Robert's grip and leaves without even saying goodbye. Robert supports me as I feel my strength drain away. We didn't just sit idly by after hearing about my husband's mistress. We had already begun preparing our next moves. About 2 weeks later, my husband called. He laughed, saying that raising their daughter was going smoothly and that she was as adorable as he had hoped. He even sent a photo of the mistress holding the child, which started in me a simmering of rage. However, he had unknowingly provided us with evidence. I saved the photo and began recording the conversation, amazed at how foolish he was. Then, right on cue, my husband's mistress took the phone and began talking. "Are you the wife? I'm sorry I've taken your husband all for myself, but it can't be helped since we have a child together now, right?" LOL. Yes, raising a child can be tough. "I'm so glad you're understanding. When I first heard about you from your husband, I just thought you were a weak person who couldn't do anything but cry. But that's not how you sound at all." So that's what he had been saying about me to his mistress. Half a year ago, such words would have deeply hurt me, but now I felt nothing. The love for my husband had long since disappeared. "You knew my husband was married with a child, and yet you still pursued him, right?" "I didn't know at first. Your husband always took off his wedding ring when we met, so when he finally told me, I was surprised. But my feelings for him didn't change. We'll be together forever." It's a good thing they're both so clueless. This would serve as evidence that the mistress knew my husband was married and still continued their relationship. While her words were infuriating, the payoff would be huge. And it would have been more difficult to take revenge if she seemed genuinely remorseful and troubled by the unplanned child. I told the two of them to do their best and hung up. 2 years have passed since that day. Then I saw that familiar number come up on my phone. I took a deep breath before answering. Hey, how have you been? I'm coming home now, so make sure the house is clean, okay? Didn't I tell you back then that there's no home for you to return to? What are you trying to prove? My husband sighed, sounding exasperated. Sure, I admit I was wrong to leave suddenly, but I can't leave her to raise the child alone, right? You were a mother too, so you should understand. He still doesn't get it. He really hasn't changed at all since that day. Maybe that's a good thing. It makes me feel confident that Robert and I were right to take care of ourselves. I think you misunderstand. There's literally no house for you to return to. I sold it. I could hear my husband gasping. I decided to break down everything that had happened for my clueless husband. That day, 2 years ago, my son and I were struggling to decide how to get him out of our lives forever. In the midst of it all, I realized that there was a risk that he would want to come back and pick up where he left off. There was no way I could continue living with my husband after all he had said. Honestly, even the house we had shared together now felt tainted to me. When I expressed my feelings, Robert calmly asked me a question. Isn't this house under your mom's name? Yes, we renovated and moved into this house that I inherited from my grandfather. In that case, why don't we sell it? I was surprised by Robert's bold suggestion, but if I did sell the house, my husband would literally be unable to come back to it. Plus, the money could be used to hire a lawyer and a private investigator for the divorce process. Robert had been saving up for months so we could live without any worries. With that savings and a little more, it would be possible for me to move away with him. I accepted Robert's idea and began making preparations. Robert worked harder than ever in his studies, eventually getting accepted to a college far away, and I obtained certification as a nursing assistant. With this certification, my salary would be higher and I could work anywhere. And so we sold the house. Of course, we had obtained my grandfather's permission. My parents had passed away early and my grandparents had taken on the role of parents. When I explained the situation with my husband to my grandfather, he was furious. My grandparents gave us some of the money they had been saving little by little, telling us to use it to start our new life. When I hesitated, they insisted, saying there was no point in them holding on to the money at their age, and forced me to take an envelope filled with cash. I was moved to tears by my grandparents' kindness. And so we began living in the state where Robert's college was located. Since you never showed any interest in what we were up to while Robert was studying for his exams, you probably have no idea where we're living now. You can't bluff me like that. My husband's voice grew louder, clearly panicked. If you think it's a lie, you're welcome to come see for yourself. We're busy, so we'll hang up now. Hey, wait. At that moment, Robert, who had been quietly observing, took the phone from me. Dad, you said it yourself, right? That we don't need you anymore? And we agree. We don't need a father who abandons us to be with his mistress. With a cold tone, Robert told him this, causing my husband to break down crying. Please, wait. I know I messed up, but don't abandon me. I took the phone back from Robert, ready to deliver the final blow. You might not be willing to agree to a divorce, but we're moving forward with the preparations anyway. Oh, and did you know that the alimony payments for getting your mistress pregnant during our marriage can be almost double the usual amount? Better start preparing for that. Without waiting for my husband's response, I hung up the phone. Calls from my husband came in immediately, but I rejected them. I didn't want any more stress. From now on, my husband would be burdened by the costs of raising a child with his mistress and paying alimony to me. My husband had no real skills to support himself, and I had always cleaned up after him. He would leave dirty dishes untouched and scatter laundry everywhere. He hardly ever helps with housework and only occasionally takes out the trash, acting all proud when he does. I can't imagine him and his young lover lasting very long. Thanks to speaking my mind, it feels like a weight has been lifted off my chest, and I take a deep breath. Robert looks worried about me. I'm fine. I got to say what I needed to, and I feel so much better. Let's go out and eat something you like today. I force a smile at Robert, despite my exhaustion. He still seems worried, but he tries to act cheerful for my sake. I find my smiling son, debating between steak, sushi, or pizza, absolutely adorable. We've been through a lot of hardship, but let's make even more happy memories. It's an unfamiliar place, but Robert and I will be just fine. And I have to work hard to let him become more independent. When I decided to live with him, he said he was happy to still be able to eat my home-cooked meals since he is terrible at cooking. But from now on, when he has friends over or even gets a girlfriend, I'll be in the way. Robert is such a kind child that he'll always be concerned about me, and his girlfriend might eventually get fed up with it. I'll have to teach him how to cook to help him live on his own, so I'll be even busier. My husband is gone, but I don't feel lonely anymore. As I think about our future life together, I laugh, feeling refreshed knowing my husband is completely out of my life. I can now live the rest of my life with a clear conscience.